I am freezing. Like, I'm wearing a tank top and I'm like, I'm cold. But it is definitely the coldest day of the year so far, of the season, of the coldest day of the season, I should say. But you know, winter is the coldest season. But it is Vlogmas Day 23. Yeah, 23. Like, I should know that Christmas Eve's tomorrow. We're gonna go through the weekly TBR. We're gonna see what I got in the mail today. But saying this is the weekly TBR, yes, it is the weekly TBR, but this will be the only vlog this week because tomorrow's video will be my December wrap up and Wednesday's video will be my Christmas haul. So this is going to be the only vlog. This is the last vlog of Vlogmas. But I do want to show what we're reading this week. We will be reading Tell Me Everything by Mika Kelly. I do think I could finish this book today, but I'm going to be a little late to reading because this time of year is the most confusing time. Like, everybody's home and working from home and all of that. And it's just chaos. So I'm reading a little bit later today, but I will be reading Tell Me Everything by Mika Kelly. This is her memoir. And then I have my ebook, which is Written in My Own Heart's Blood by Dana Gabaldon. And this is the 8th book in the Outlander series about a family during the American Revolution, but it's a lot of genre bending because there are some time travel elements involved. And then after I finish Mika's book, I will probably start Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. I just really have to confirm if that's where you start with him. I know all these big fantasy series. Now, I'm a writer who I would want all my stories to be connected, so I get it, but it's like, where do you start? It's intimidating. I have to confirm that that's where you actually start, but I'm about to get into reading. I did get some Amazon and eBay. So this is from Amazon. This is Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. And I saw this on Michaela's TikTok. I think it was TikTok where I saw it. And she said she really recommends this book for manifestation. And since the solstice, a little before the solstice, I've just been thinking about manifestation a lot because I used to be really into it. And then, I haven't done tarot readings or any for myself in a while. I haven't focused on that since summertime, and I want to get back into doing that kind of thing. But this is readers of all ages and walks of life have drawn inspiration and empowerment from Elizabeth Gilbert's books for years. That's the first sentence of that. This book I saw at Barnes & Noble at the start of the month, and it would just be cheaper to get on eBay. Sorry, I can't think of the word. But this is How the World Made the West, a 4,000-year history by Josephine Quinn. This is an award-winning Oxford history professor overturns the way the West thinks about itself, tracing its innovations and traditions to societies from all over the world and making the case that the West is, and always has been, truly global. Yeah, what created the West? Everything came from the East. People, that's how migration patterns were. So, the world created the West. But then I got an Amazon package that was so heavy I shook. There were only 2 books in there. But I was out of graphic novels, needed some new ones, and Scout on Fable, it's their AI, and they can give you book recommendations. And since I enjoy the Persepolis, these are 2 that it recommended to me. It recommended me 3, but these were the ones that I really... Maus, the M-A-U-S, was the other one, which I think that one, since it's so popular, I'm probably going to try to get that secondhand. But I got Displacement by Kiku Hughes, and this has won an award, the Young Adult Literature Award honor, by the Asian Pacific American Librarians Association. That's a really cool... I wish y'all could see how it's like a fish. It's really cool. But this is about... I don't know if this is nonfiction or fiction. I think this is fiction, but I'm not sure. So suddenly Kiku is torn out of her own time. Though she was on vacation in present-day San Francisco just moments before, Kiku now finds herself displaced to the 1940s Japanese-American internment camp where her late grandmother, Ernestina, was forcibly relocated to during World War II. I don't know where we're in the old books. And then this one... I saw it was over 500 pages, but I did not realize it was this much of a brick. Okay, the page numbers are interesting how they do it. But this is Blankets, a graphic novel by Craig Thompson. And this one It's wrapped in the snowfall of a blustery Midwestern winter. Craig Thompson's graphic novel memoir. Okay, so it's a memoir. Interweaves a coming-of-age high school romance with the tale of two brothers growing up in rural isolation. So I got 4 books today. That's fun. And I am going to go read now. I am 5 minutes late. I just finished Tell Me Everything by Minka Kelly, and I gave it a 5 out of 5. Y'all know, if you watched the earlier vlogs, I thought this was going to be a 4, but today the emotions, they really hit and made this a 5-star reading experience. I'm going to go through my notes. I used to, in previous months, not go over my notes for the final day of reading, but this final day was so impactful, and I have started going over my notes with y'all, especially with these nonfiction books. And then obviously I will have my Goodreads link down below in the description of this video if you guys would like to read my written review. I really struggle writing nonfiction reviews and writing 5-star reviews, so please bear with me with that. But we're gonna go through my notes. I want to hold the book so y'all know what I'm talking about, even though it's the title of the video. But chapter 12 on page 157, I really like the writing here. I'm going to take this off just because I have an easier time holding a book when it's naked, you know? So 157, the lighting in LA. So as Rick turned onto Beverly, I couldn't get over the light filtering into the car. There was a glow here that was different from other places, distinctive. The sun shines just a little differently in Los Angeles. There was a golden quality to the atmosphere that mesmerized me. I stared out the window, taking in my new home, breathing in the scent of eucalyptus mixed with exhaust. And then it goes on that while LA is known as a driving city, that wasn't categorically true. And I loved reading that description of Los Angeles because it is so true. I still see, the last time I was there driving through Koreatown, and I was going up in the hills to see the sunset kind of over the city. I know it's not over the city because the sunset's to the west, but you know, to see sunset being in the hills. And I was driving from Century City to like West Hollywood. I could tell you all the exact road and everything, but we're not going all into that. And just driving down these big boulevards. It's a driving city, even though she's saying it's, she goes on to say a lot of people were walking around, but it's like a movie, and the lighting is just different, and it's beautiful, and especially at golden hour, incredible. And I was glad that I finally saw something describing that feeling I've had for almost 10 years now, that I finally saw it written on page. And then we have, she starts, one of her mom's friends is like, you should really get into modeling. And she's had a lot of people tell her, and she's like, oh, I'm too short. And that was me back when I had straight teeth and everything. When I was in high school, people were like, you could be a model. And I was like, no, I'm only like 5'2", 3", whatever. And and those people were just being nice, if we're being honest. I had like caterpillar eyebrows at that time, but she was just like, no, that's not really what I want to do. But finally she gives in and starts working at this plastic surgeon's office. And the woman who like managed the photo shoot she went to also managed the plastic surgeon's office, and they were like, okay, if you want to be a Playboy playmate, you got to get a boob job, you got to get veneers, you got to get but I think it was Botox. And so the ones that were surgery, not the veneers, were all gonna be for free. Like, can that happen to me? Thanks. Like, I just want filler under my eyes. I would like a new jaw and chin. It would be fantastic. So like, maybe I should go get a job at a plastic surgeon's office and they'll do all that. I'm just joking around to let y'all know, but I was shook by that. And then on page 169, we have the quote, "The moment that felt like a rejection, or this moment that felt like a rejection, was just another opportunity for growth in disguise." And oh my gosh, that is so true. And it took me years to realize that same thing. I never had it in words, but that was something I didn't realize until, you know, I was an adult. I'm gonna say I probably didn't realize it till this year, till I was 25, that when doors close in life, that's just how life was meant to go. And I know some things suck, and I will see people complain about relationships not working out, and it would just be like relationships aren't even that far into the relationship. Like, they'll go on a few dates and it doesn't work out. Do not beat yourself up over it, because would you rather be in that relationship where that person doesn't have feelings for you? No, that would be awful. You're both wasting your time. And it wasn't meant to be, so that means the person meant for you is still out there. Or maybe you were meant to be single, and that is a-okay. Being single is great. I've been single for years and I love it. But like, it's something really hard to come to terms with, is just feeling any kind of rejection. Back when I was in high school, I do think rejection and failure were one of my, I guess that's two of my biggest fears. But as I've grown older, and I said it took me this long until I was 25 to realize that that just wasn't meant to be, and you gotta accept that, because that means there is something better for you out there. Okay, moving on to our next page, notes to chapter 13. Page 172, like, no one is their true self in high school. She was just reflecting on some things, and it made me realize, I was like, are any of us who we really are when we're 15 and think we own the world? That the world is ours for taking? Which, yeah, when you're young it is, because there's so many opportunities, so much can happen. But I don't think anybody is truly themselves in high school. You're all wanting to be something. At least that was my case. I wanted to be something, but I do think I was pretty honest to who I was. Yeah, that's a lot to think about. This is very reflective. I'm sorry that I feel like crying while doing all this. This book got me in the feels today, and that's what bumped it up to a 5-star. But yeah, Minka's lived quite the life. She went from, being in the peep shows to working in retail to being a nurse. She went to school, got a degree, and was literally an nurse during operational nurse. Is that what it's called? I'm blinking because a lot of that, I'm not a medical person. It freaks me out. Shiver, sorry. That I was just like, yeah, let's kind of speed through this. I'm listening to the audiobook, so I didn't really like skim or anything, but I was just like, oh, this is kind of gross. But yeah, so from nurse to actress, what a life. Minka has lived a wild life, and it must be so crazy to look back on, especially writing this and being like, I got all that in 275 pages. That's crazy, all the stuff that is in this short amount of time. And yeah, there's a part where she's talking about being a nurse at a C-section, and she just started crying. It was her first ever C-section, and seeing, cutting open the stomach and everything, and seeing the baby in there, and realizing you're bringing somebody's life into the world. Yeah, I would break down too, but it was like, oh my gosh, at the end, so once they take the baby out, this is gross, but they take the uterus out of you and clean it up and everything and put it back in, like, no gross. Okay, so chapter 14, we have Minka, her boyfriend Sean, her friend Marie, and then her mom all are living in the same house. And I was like, I love picturing them all in the same house. It's like a sitcom. I love the images of that. I've talked about before, this book is extremely vivid, and that's definitely like so true. And then page 184, Rick being mature on page 184. What is this about? Okay, yeah, so Rick's wife, they end up getting a divorce, and he's so mature about it. So it was like, what do you mean? She cheated. Yes, she did, but it was my fault. This is how I see it, Rick said. A woman needs to feel sexy and wanted and desired. That was my job as her husband, to make sure she felt that way. And I stopped doing my job. Somewhere along the line, I let our relationship settle into a roommate type situation. We became like brother and sister. And so she did what she needed to rediscover her worth. She found someone else who would desire her. There's no getting away from the fact that I share a big piece of the blame. Have y'all ever seen a man act like that? Like, that's crazy. Like, accepting the blame for somebody cheating on you, that I don't know how somebody can do that. That is amazing. And then chapter 15, this acting. So Minka goes to an acting class because she's been with the modeling, just doing like Macy's commercials, little things like that, like Old Navy. But so she's like, I'm just gonna go start going to acting classes. So she goes to one, and they basically, you get on the stage with another person, and you start saying like, you'd be like, you're smiling, and then the other person would be like, I'm smiling, and like it would just go from little things like that. So Minka's talking in like a baby voice, a childlike voice, and the teacher of the class is like, what the F is this? Like, what are you doing? Were you abused as a child? And Minka's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to answer that question in front of everybody. And it took her that long to realize that, yeah, she was abused as a kid, and this is when she realized it. And I'm like, wow, this class is amazing. And it made me think maybe she's childlike because she didn't get to be a kid really, because she had all those responsibilities put on her shoulders, and she was so worried about being too much of a burden to everyone else. And now I think they were kind of a burden to her. But okay, then uncovering yourself while making a character. Yes, this was about the acting. Is when she got more into acting, she started to find herself more. And that's really fascinating to think about as you were diving into this other character, becoming that character. You're realizing what's you and what's them. It's a lot to think about. And then this quote that was from the acting teacher: sensitive people change the world and the rest don't give a damn. So true. Let's go to chapter 16 now. Okay, she went through a breakup with Sean. She found out that he was having an on and off again relationship with somebody else, and she's like, oh my gosh, now I have to move out. I have to find somewhere to live. What am I going to do about money, paying rent? Because Los Angeles is crazy expensive. And that's when she gets the call about Friday Night Lights, which is like her claim to fame, her work she's most known for. And that just shows how the universe works, that everything finds itself out. There's a rhythm to things, and that was that. Chapter 17, I love that she can admit when she was wrong. That's something I love about this, is looking back at her relationships and how she handled certain situations, and knowing that she didn't handle things perfectly. And my camera's dying, so we're gonna switch to my phone. What a way to end Vlogmas, right? Or in at least the vlog of Vlogmas with an iPhone clip. I'm changing how I'm sitting. And we are on chapter 17, where I was saying how she can admit that she was wrong. And I think that's just a really mature thing. And then I made comment about this, which gets kind of funny later, is I feel like a book like this must be so therapeutic to write, putting it all out there, finally getting it all off your chest, getting it all off your shoulders, and putting it out there in the world. Just a random note for me. And we'll get kind of more into that later. I know I have this page and then like 2 more lines. But realizing who her mom is as a person, and realizing that parents are humans and living life. I talked about this with another book recently. I don't really remember which one it was. I would have to think more on it. But she realizes that her mom was more than just being her mother. And that's something that I think is so important, and something that you realize as you're an adult. Your parents aren't superheroes. I mean, they kind of are. Like, I do consider my dad my hero, but they are humans, and they are still learning and going through life themselves and having their own life experiences. And that's so crazy to think about. Again, I'm getting kind of emotional, but you need to realize that they are humans too. They're going to make mistakes. They are still learning, and you learn from mistakes. So just think about that when thinking about your family, your parents, and really everybody in life, that everybody's a human. Everybody's going through their own experience. And chapter 18, yeah, I just wrote that note, and then it comes up that where she was saying she realized that her mom was more than just her mom. And then, OMG, yeah, this chapter 18 is the one that ripped my heart out. And when I was like, I'm going to give this a 5-star. That chapter. But yeah, there was this one part where her mom is handing her the razor, like the shaving razor, and it's like, it's not working. And Minka's like, what do you mean? Everything with it looks normal. And she's like, she does it and it's like, yeah, it's working. And her mom, she hands it back to her mom, and her mom goes to use it and it's like, no, it's not working. The mom was trying to use the razor on her teeth, and that made my jaw drop. Yeah, her mom was going through a lot. It was awful. And I was like, view, ooh, that's what I meant. That chapter was hard. And I went and ate my dinner after that and was just like, books, man. There's something. Chapter 19. So, this is a quote. So much to talk about that we didn't talk at all. Yeah, definitely. Have been in those situations where you have so much baggage with a person and coming to terms with that, and you don't even know where to begin. On page 245, we get about the book. Okay, yeah. This is when she's talking about what I talked about earlier, that a lot of her friends were like, this must be such a cathartic, is that the right word, experience. And she was like, how? And then when she started reading her mom's journal, that's when she realized, she's like, oh my gosh. And what I was saying about how this must be like a therapeutic experience, getting to put it all out there. And here's another quote. Being a human is complicated no matter your circumstances. I think that's something a lot of people need to realize when they read celebrity memoirs. I think of when I read, well, this one wasn't a memoir that I'm about to talk about, the book about Diana, Her True Story or whatever, by Andrew Morton, that these are women of privilege, white, pretty women, but everybody has layers to them. Everybody's a human. And I do want to say Minka does address being like a white cis woman in this book, and how she was pretty and had things easier. And even her mom, a blonde, good looking woman in Los Angeles, that black and native and transgender women have it so much more difficult. But still, we are all human, and being a human is complicated no matter your circumstances. And I think that is a great quote there. And she talks about gaining empathy for yourself and for your family. And I always talk about empathy on this channel, and I think empathy can be gained from reading books. Having empathy for yourself, that's something I definitely struggle with. I think that I do a pretty good job at being an empathetic person, but towards myself, am I empathetic towards myself? It's something that I am trying, and something that I am working on every day. And I think that's, the best you can do is continue to work on yourself, and therefore that benefits everybody around you if you are working on yourself and trying to grow yourself. And chapter 20, this is the last chapter. So self aware, Minka Kelly is. And I love when people are self aware with their memoirs. Again, how I said how she was pointing out things that she could have handled differently and done differently. And being a woman of being a white woman and everything, how there is a privilege to that. And I so appreciate when people can realize these things. And in the chapter 20, oh my gosh, like, yeah. And then the epilogue, embodying yourself and power. Because it was like embodying your sexuality was one thing. And yeah, this book is a big book about sex work and how we shouldn't judge people in those situations. We don't know how they got there. We don't know what they're trying to get out of it. You can't judge other people. That is not our role as humans to do. And just embodying yourself, being yourself, there is a power to that. And it is amazing to love yourself, to be yourself. And that's such a great and empowering message. And then the end, like the last line of the book, is so meaningful. I think this is such a meaningful read, and I loved it. And gave Tell Me Everything by Minka Kelly a 5 star. And mind you, I have not seen her in anything except Euphoria, and I think she was only on an episode or two. So it's not even like I knew much about her before. I've never seen Friday Night Lights, and I still love this book and found it incredibly meaningful. And I've been trying not to cry this whole clip. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it all the way through, leave a Christmas emoji in the comments below. And as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you on my next one. Bye.